Friends, welcome to another edition of Wild and True. Now, usually I got a whole host of sponsors I need to put up here, but, well, I'm kind of changing things around a little bit. We've made quite a move. For those of y'all that's kept up with me, we made quite a move and went all the way from one part of the country slammed to the other. So once again, I'm back down in the swamps and bottomlands that I grew up in, and it's gonna be, well, let's just say it's gonna be interesting for a little while until I get it all put together. And that brings us up to the topic today, and that is when you go into a new area, how can how can you streamline the amount of time it takes you to find wildlife and so on and so forth if you know nobody or have never been in that area before? And even though I've hunted all over the country, I've chased deer and turkeys about everywhere you can chase them, and they all share some of the same aspects. uh, the terrain and their environment, well, let's just say it dictates that some of them do different things a different way. Of course, you can always key on whitetails and browse. So basically, any kind of cutover opening or any kind of edge that you can find will create opportunities. So if you really know nothing about the the area that you're hunting, um, you can take the creation of the edge of a field, the edge of a cutover, um, and most of the time, as you maneuver around there, you will find clues that lead you further and further and further around. Now, it's going to be a whole lot different because I have spent my whole life into uh, basically hunting semi wilderness type area bucks. They wasn't the area that I ended up chasing most of them in wasn't true wilderness area, but um, so basically they didn't have a time clock. You were just as apt to harvest a deer at 8 o'clock in the morning as you was to take him at the crack of dawn or right at dusk. Um, as a matter of fact, I was always of the firm belief in the afternoon. Once it got to a certain point in the afternoon, if you were not sitting like where the deer already wanted to be, if you were down in the woods, they just wasn't going to hardly move very much anymore because there were things there that would actually prey on the deer, be it the cougar, basically. So, how do you go about moving into a new area? Well, I'm a big map person. I know we've all got all these GPS programs and everything, and while I'm a believer in that, what I'm a believer in is I'm a believer in the man that's standing beside me, and I say, can you get me a picture of this? Because if I can see it, I start picking up clues as to what's happening. Um, a case in point is I've got a place that I could just nearby tell you it's a pretty good truck ride from here. It's going to be 45 minutes or so. But and it's public land. But I can pretty well tell you that when the muzzleloader season opens down here, I'm gonna kill a pretty good buck in there. Or I kill a buck that's respectable in this part of the country. Won't be the biggest buck. Well, it could be. And I know it won't be a smaller buck because I ain't gonna shoot him. But I'll kill a pretty decent buck there. And I picked it out entirely through the use of a couple of different mapping applications. But you have to almost, it's almost a must that you have an aerial photograph of the area that you intend to hunt. Now, you have to look a lot bigger than what's really going on. I made a comment the other night to somebody, I forgot who, and we was chatting up hunting, and I told him, I said, I'd rather be the worst hunter on the best piece of ground than the best hunter on the worst piece of ground. Because you basically, if you don't have it to work with, it's just not there. Case in point of what drove me out of the western United States. I watched it in a 20-year span. I watched us lose over 40 inches of white-tailed deer growth, antler growth, mass. The deer that always won the local deer contest when I first moved into that valley was gonna be in the 190s, and by the time I left, I think a 143 was the last one I paid any attention to, and all that. A 140 class deer there had done gotten to be a pretty good buck. But so the first thing that you got to do is get an aerial photograph of the land that you're gonna hunt, but make sure you get it big enough that it's got everybody else's land on it too. And that's where the internet applications, Google Earth and everything are so handy. And some of the mapping applications that are available on these, I don't know, everybody says I need to upgrade my communication program, but the phone I got works fine. It cost me $10.40 a month and all, and I can do about anything I want to do on it, and that's all I need to do. If I need a map, I'm gonna go buy me a map and put it in the truck. But what you're gonna look for is you're gonna look for different patterns. If you're hunting whitetails, and we're going to kind of change the focus a little bit back to whitetail deer, but this holds true a little bit to mule deer too. Of course, mule deer is just as happy laying on the side of a cliff somewhere. But as far as whitetails go, they're generally watercourse animals. They like to move alongside rivers and creeks, and it just so happened that when they cut the timber on different places, which is what everybody essentially in the South has become used to hunting, they leave a SMZ, streamside management zone, and it's supposed to be a certain width and everything to keep the erosion down and all that kind of stuff. But those zones are often not the friendliest places for the deer to be moving. He'd rather be walking in the fire lane out there. Of course, if I was a deer, I'd be walking out there too, 'cause who wants to jump over all that shenangle of junk that they got tangled up down in there where they pushed it all up to begin with? So, boy, SMZ deal you all kinds of fits when you turkey hunting too, 'cause you get to the edge of them and it looks like you trying to break out of Alcatraz or something to get to where you can get a shot over. However, they got it windrowed up through there, the brush and the stumps and what all they had pushed up in there. But anyway, they do tend to favor the water courses. And so by looking at an aerial photograph, you can look this one particular funnel that I'm thinking about that, like I said, I'm pretty sure, and I'm kind of going to wait on it till primitive weapon season comes in, because that way I'll have some rutting activity to kind of back it up. And I've never been there. Now, I've never been there. I'm going to walk in there, and I usually have some. It takes me. It takes a lot of people that are really good about 3 different applications to get dialed in. You might go in there one time and be close, and the second time you'll be closer, and the third time it'll all go down. Now, of course, with different weapons, that kind of changes a little bit. But anybody that's ever hunted with me, all the people that have hunted with me over the years, especially turkey hunting, I watch a gobbler do something twice. I give him twice, and the third time I'm fixing to put him in the truck. And they'll tell somebody, they'll say he's going to go out there and just sit down out there. And they said no, because I've heard them tell it when they didn't think I was listening. They said he's going to go out there and sit down out there and put him in the truck. Because, once a gobbler does something twice, especially if he's used to doing it every day of his life and he ain't had no problems, he's probably going to do it again. And so that's when I go in ninja mode and I just don't do nothing. It's called check your calls in when you leave the truck. You can call at him when you got the bead on his head and all that kind of stuff, if you're so bound and determined to do so. I don't even give him that warning sometimes. I just shoot him and be glad I got him. Cause anyway, I know what it takes to put him in the truck. Deer same way. You go in there one time, you get close, you may hear them, you may see a glimpse or two, you can move a little closer and kind of fine tune everything down. And usually, especially if I'm on a real soft approach type thing, usually by the time that I kill him, I walk down there, and that's where I should have been sitting all along. But I couldn't have walked down there and saw all that without running the area and blowing everything out of there and everything. So it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. But you have to start with an aerial photograph of some type, and then from there you can maneuver on closer and closer and closer. And this particular area I'm thinking about down here, and might as well go on and see it. I'm in Mississippi again. I've lived in Mississippi either 3 or 5 different times.